I am Janice Clatterbuck, and I'm with Infotech Research Group, based out of Canada. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, however, and today we're going to talk about 2021 tech trends. Infotech does this research every year, and this year they focused our tech trends on periods of disruptive change, like the ones that we've been in since the pandemic. I'm waiting to be able to see my screen. I'm sorry. The presentation.
If you hit share screen.
There you go. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this. So we interviewed 187 of our technology senior leaders, and they basically said that they expect that their organizations will never be the same as before the pandemic. As you can see in the chart here, just a very small percentage said that they didn't expect any change. And despite the rate of change, they really don't feel like their organizations are mature enough to be able to manage the change that they're going to see, or that they've already been seeing. This is our maturity model on the right, and we asked them to describe what was their current level of maturity. So the 6 trends that we're going to talk about that will help organizations thrive through change. We have 3 that will help to adapt and 3 that will help to absorb. Distributed autonomous organizations, self-sovereign cloud, digital sustainability, machine learning by design, citizen development 2.0, and venture architecture. We'll go through each one of them. So distributed autonomous change is basically operating without a central hub and taking control over the workday. And what do we mean by that? Down on the bottom here, you can use artificial intelligence and recommendations created by those algorithms on how to prioritize tasks and improve performance. And of course, there are manual processes that you can use to manage workflows and use automation where possible. And last but not least, is blockchain technologies are playing a major role in enabling more autonomy for some organizations. 44% of those surveys said that they're not going to be ready to operate without a central work hub for at least another year. But here's an example. Of course, once the pandemic hit, there was an increase in hospitalizations around the world. The resources were in great demand, and if any of those resources got ill themselves, that just put additional demand on the rest of the workforce. And there were people that were willing to step in quickly and help, like those who had recently retired from the healthcare industry, or perhaps people that had just graduated, but they had to be certified. Their credentials had to be verified before they were able to be hired. And sometimes that took a very long time. So this startup company, ProPredix, created a blockchain platform that held verified credentials for those healthcare workers. And people in the healthcare industry were able to hire them very quickly and be confident that their credentials had in fact been verified. And this isn't just theory. It's actually being used today by national government services, by Spectrum Health, WellCare, and Accenture. So that was obviously an example of a solution to a complex problem. But how do you collaborate with a central hub and take control over the workday. IT really needs to help the business by increasing their individual and organizational autonomy, boost digital collaboration, and reduce regional friction. The second trend is self-sovereign cloud. This is balancing the capabilities of the public cloud with the control and privacy of on-premise infrastructure. So this really means that a hybrid cloud has been typically used. That's the ideal model for most IT organizations for quite a few years now. But with recent events, additional degree of control is required. So optimizing infrastructure basically is balancing cost with performance. And having end-to-end encryption is critical, but that includes the data while it is being processed. And then, of course, there are those need to be able to comply with legal jurisdictions and the policy requirements that basically say where your data has to be. But 40% again say that they're not going to be able to migrate data to the right place at the right time for at least another 12 months. But here's a case study for that. Aptum, formerly known as Conjecto Tier 1, supports infrastructure in many different industries. But if you think about right after the pandemic happened, most of us were ordering things online. Most of the stores may have been closed, unless it was perhaps a grocery store. And even then, lots of people like to order their groceries online and just go pick them up. So actually, they would need to scale up quickly for their online site, while travel agencies were basically doing nothing. And those had to scale back and needed less resources. So then there's also the regulations like GDPR and other that affect where your data is stored. So the performance and cost is a big factor. And so Aptum actually would produce recommendations for the workloads, and through their artificial intelligence algorithms, were able to apply governance policies and enforce those policies and make certain that there was a clear view of where the workloads were. And here, we recommend advancing the hybrid cloud model, making certain that your data transparency is there. And to achieve that, you need to be able to know exactly where it's stored, using some automated workload optimization, and very importantly, making certain that you have true end-to-end encryption, including while your data is being processed. The third trend is digital sustainability. And this is, using such technologies as software machine learning to actually drive emission and reduction and cost control. All of these technologies, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 5Gs, are playing a major part and a major role in these technologies today. 10%, this is an interesting statistic, 10% of the world's emissions come from the electricity used to move data. 70% of organizations say that they aren't able to harness digital technology to reduce carbon emissions for at least a year. Again, a case study. Let's consider how Microsoft is helping its customers use digital tools to be more sustainable. They've committed to becoming a carbon negative company. And they actually have said that Azure data centers will be run on 100% renewable energy by 2025. And so Microsoft wants to communicate that to their customers. And so they have this calculator, sustainability calculator, that they can compare Azure carbon emissions to your on-prem scenarios. And that can potentially help save costs when you're facing carbon taxes, which I understand many vendors are actually charging today on their accounts. So here, our recommendation is to assign accountability and estimate, talk to your partners, your suppliers, about estimating the emissions. And, look at what the current state is compared to the future state. And then on to machine learning by design. So having machine learning as a piece of your organization's value proposition is what the key is here. This is a simple example, but on the left, this is a retail capability that uses machine learning in a support role, right? To really use chatbot to answer customer service questions, lead them through the menu, the things that we've all seen and heard. But on the right side, if in fact you are using machine learning to be able to determine what buyers are most likely to buy, what products they would want, using those kind of algorithms really means making it a core part of your value proposition in your organization. So here's a cool case study. This one's interesting. To begin with, I'll tell you that there's $185 billion spent annually in streetwear. And there are a few challenges. One, you've got this celebrity effect. Everybody's walking around with t-shirts or clothes that have different celebrities on them. And that's cutting into the standard retail market. Having a right size inventory is important. Retailers typically have to make a minimum of 1 million items for any given design. And if that's a miss or it's not, a hit, that's a whole lot of waste. They also have long product cycles. It typically takes 5 months for a new kind of clothing to be created and actually from design to the market. And then unfortunately, if you think about a lot of people, a lot of us, a lot of people that are in this retail market have legacy applications and they can't change them overnight. And then if you're trying to find some true AI talent, that's also difficult. It's very scarce in the market. And you have to be able to have good data to be able to look at and figure out what action you need to take. So Urban Cool Lab is a 25-person startup company that for a year and a half, most of those 25 were artificial intelligence scientists, and they are reinventing this whole business category. They used artificial intelligence to, and the centralized team and their algorithms to take to market from design to actually creating the product one by one in 24 hours. So you might order something today that's been designed and they have a picture of it, but they don't create it until you order it. And then tomorrow they're able to ship it to you. That really cuts out the waste and the long time to actually get it to you. But even higher here, 74% say they're not going to be able to harness strategic machine learning for at least another year or more. So IT really needs to help the business identify some good candidates with machine learning. And you need to make certain that you've got data stores for that unstructured data. And utilizing that AI function, maybe even come up with a central proof of concept. Citizen Development 2.0 is the fifth trend. And this is really about enabling those non-technical contributors to use and create artificial intelligence combined with the low-code or no-code environment that's been available for a while. Now, certainly, the developers are still there to solve the problem, but who is the developer, right? It could be somebody externally that's not technical, but the coders still have to be able to manipulate the APIs, control the data, and then what's different now is that there are some artificial intelligence tools that can be added to the stack to enable those non-technical users. 66% say they're not going to be able to support users in that way for at least another year, and almost another quarter say that it's going to take them at least 4 years to deliver that kind of support. So here's a case study. In Toronto, bicyclists were frustrated because when they would drive their bikes into the city, it was difficult to find parking. And so there was this group, cycling, what they were called, Bike Space, they called themselves, and they got together a group of volunteers that actually, many of them were technical, and figured out how to come up with a product that would enable them to look on a map and actually find where to park their bikes, where the closest places were. And so the city of Toronto supported this by actually giving them data that they needed, open data sets, and they would update this every week. And it actually has been working now for a couple of years, and it's been so popular and worked so well that the city has decided that they're going to continue to support this through 2025. So that was an example of how you can use open data. And a lot of people are starting to put open data out there for the citizens. But if you ask how can you help, IT needs to really take stock of where those IT capabilities are being added to existing productivity for businesses, and maybe look outside your own four walls. Who out there might need the kind of data that you could put there? Embrace that open data and accessible data mindset. And of course, it's important to know that you can't just put the data out there. You still have to offer some governance in terms of supporting the users that are using the open data to create software. It might sound like it's going to be more expensive now, but in the long run, we think that it'll really pay off. And then the last is venture architecture. This is developing and launching innovative new technology ventures within. And here's a couple examples. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll share one, and then I'll tell you about a personal one that I have. So in January, Coke Energy created the first Coke branded non-soda drink, like an energy drink. And they did all of that through their digital immersion center lab that they had personally. And then my own example is not long after the pandemic started last year into the summer, I shopped for my groceries at Wegmans. And they really encourage you to bring your own bags, and in fact charge you if you don't bring your own bags for their bags. The people working there in the checkout counters didn't want to touch your bags. You didn't necessarily want them touching the products that you were buying. There were TV programs about when you got home, wiping down, disinfecting all of the groceries you bought. And of course, later today we know that COVID does not spread based on being on surfaces. So, but at the time, we didn't know that. Wegmans came out very quickly with an application for your telephone that I downloaded. And when you walk in the door, you connect to their Wi-Fi. And then you start shopping. And you have your own bags open in your cart. And every time you pick up something you're going to buy, you just scan it and put it in your cart. If it's produce, you go to the weight machine and weigh it. And it comes up with the item for you to scan on the weight machine. Keeps track of all of this as you go along. Long story short, when you leave, you go to the self checkout, scan the one code that's on the display there. If you've bought alcohol, need to have ID check. Somebody comes over and checks that and enters it, and you walk out the door. You don't have to put your groceries up on the counter, and it really saves them time as well. So that's a personal example that I think was really innovative and very timely. And I love it. I use it today. I see all kinds of people using it every week when I go to the grocery store. 56% of businesses say they won't be able to do anything like this for at least a year. But here's a case study for those sports lovers. Maple Leaf and Sports Entertainment, of course, you guys are in Canada, so you know that they partner with Ryerson University, and they have a Future of Sport lab. And they develop technical solutions for the pro sports industry, and then partner with MLSE teams. So if you recall, there was, the ticket sales were basically nothing. Sports teams that were playing to empty stadiums, and but the audience, is really growing as well. But that was just a major complication for them. But they created this device that players can wear, and it would tell them, a pro player, for example, if they were close to having an injury because of how they moved or whatever their movement was. And that could tell them ahead of time, kind of like you do for a machine maintenance, that maybe you don't need to play for a little while. You need to have some maintenance so that you don't injure yourself. So that could prevent injuries. It also could be worn on players that are playing for college, perhaps, and feel like they can become pros. This device can give feedback about their potential to be able to play in the pros. So this has been something really important and being used. So what do you do about helping your technology groups here? Find some fresh ideas. Go outside and see what other people are doing, some of the like-minded organizations as yours, and really understand what your customers' journeys are. Talk with them, and that gives yourself better insight, basically, as to what's going on with your business areas in general. So, again, those are the 6 trends that help organizations thrive through change. We're actually working on ones for 2022, and hopefully in first quarter, we'll have those available too. And this was just really a quick summary of those trends. We actually have a full report that goes into a lot more detail about all of these trends. And your sponsor here is able to distribute those to them. I've sent both the PDF of the presentation and the full report to them. So with that, I'll stop and see if there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Janet. Appreciate that. There's a lot of insights there. A couple questions that I have. If anyone has questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A feature there. Janet can answer that live. One question that I had, especially around the distributed autonomous organizations. Obviously, Infotech, you guys are, agnostic to vendors. In that area, are there, what are some of it seems like we've all kind of gotten used to having a distributed workforce now. I mean, we have it here even at Sync. So I think that's going to be pretty common. Do you see that being the norm from here on out, or do you see maybe a little bit of a trend, maybe, getting back to full organizations being in the office, or is this kind of here to stay?
Well, we also have a 2021 tech trend report that basically says the vast majority of organizations are going to have a hybrid in terms of remote work. Some may decide on certain days that they want people in the office, the same days that they can have meetings, for example. Others are allowing people to work at home all the time, don't want to come back, want to save the money on their leasing or their building. And then a smaller percentage, but some are saying, yeah, you have to come back to work. But that is not the norm. I think the hybrid seems to be more of the norm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind working from home every now and then, but I do miss the camaraderie in the office. So I can't. I'm 6'1", half a dozen of the other, but I enjoy them both. Yeah, question I had on the venture architecture. You had the last slide there was talking about how you get started. Asking the customers. Thinking about customer journey. Is this something that IT takes the initiative on, or is this something that would potentially come from different departments and incorporate IT? Obviously, I see a lot of benefits where, IT can maybe get some of the solutions that they need, from a board perspective, if they're creating an initiative like this. But where do you kind of see the starting point, or where within the organization should this conversation start?
I think really talking with the business areas, understanding fully what their journeys are, and looking outside your own four walls. Don't just look inside, but encourage your business areas along with you to see what others are doing. One grocery store versus another. Whatever your business is, look at what your competitors are doing, and it's always a great idea to maybe come up with a team internally that can concentrate on artificial intelligence or machine learning or whatever technology might be beneficial. Blockchain's being used in a lot of ways today that it wasn't before, and so I do think it comes from talking to the businesses and understanding what maybe some of their visions are. Business architecture, basically.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. One you put up the slide about Microsoft saying that they're going to be renewable energy only by 2025. That's about 3 years and a month away. You think that's doable?
Well, they say that they are, and they do have this calculator that I encourage people to ask them about it. If I'm thinking about moving my data to the cloud, to your cloud, show me what it's going to cost in terms of this emissions, and just in general what it's going to cost. I'm sure they can tell you that as well. But on-prem versus off-prem, if you've got a lot of data, and I said that 10% of the world's emissions come from moving data. So, if you move it a short period within your own data center versus to the cloud, that could be big.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah. Do you see there being a big cost benefit to this? I mean, is the carbon tax that significant?
I'm personally not familiar with that. Not everybody is charging the tax. I think it might depend on the country.
Mhm.
So, again, I would ask your vendor, and specifically, when it's time to renew contracts, ask what taxes are added there.
Might be in the fine print, huh?
Well, you never know. Of
Yeah.
course, for Infotech reviews our members' contracts before they sign them, and would be able to comment on things like that as well.
Good. Well, listen, obviously you guys are on the forefront of, what trends are coming, speaking with thousands of your partners. Tell me a little bit, a shameless plug here, but, give me the 30,000 foot or the elevator pitch on Infotech. What are some of the benefits of working with an organization like yourself?
Infotech really likes to say that we're practical and tactical. We don't just give you the report that says here's what you should be doing or here's what the technology is. We give you the tools to actually do it. We help you do it. You're able to talk to our analyst all you want. We can help you with the implementation. And all of our documents are not PDFs. They're either Word or Excel or PowerPoint, and they're yours to take and use as you like. And that is really the main difference, I think, in Infotech's research, that we really try to help you do it. So if you're a practitioner, Infotech definitely can help you.
Yeah, I like that you guys offer kind of the blueprints rather than the.
Yeah, well, we call them blueprints because they're just that. They're step-by-step how-tos. And we'll even come in and do workshops. One of our best workshops, I think, is on IT strategy or security strategy. We, inside of a week, we can do that. And we used to always do it on site, but of course, after the pandemic, we adapted because of the disruptive change, and we're doing those workshops now online, and they seem to really be going well.
Yeah. How would someone get in? Are those workshops, are they free or is that part of the subscription?
No, that's above and beyond the membership.
Okay.
Yes.
Got you. Well, listen, I really thoroughly appreciate this. This was a fantastic, and thank you for stepping in last minute. This is great because obviously IT is growing faster than any one person can keep up with. And thankfully we have, partners like Infotech that do the kind of the work for us all, right? Aggregate that information and help guide us on the right path.